Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first Bite Size Branding live show. Grant and I are very excited to bring you this show. My name is Bernard Kassab from Lucidity, if you don't know me already or you haven't been following our previous videos. And as always, we're very grateful to have Grant with us to give his insights and his knowledge into the world of branding, marketing, and business. Grant, thank you once again for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. Well, this is our first live show, but yeah, good morning. My name is Grant Tom, and I'm known as a head fire starter, which in theory means that I take ideas, I turn them into value, and I build brands, and I love growing businesses. And on our particular show, if you haven't joined us before, is one of the things is that we, as Bernard and myself, as two professionals in marketing, have got two diverse backgrounds and experiences. We choose a topic, and we try and debate it within 5 minutes so we don't waffle too long. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is come up with a resolution as to what we think is applicable for that particular subject. So we're limited by the clock. We've got to get in, we've got to converse, and we've got to win our points. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your comments. But more than anything is for the next shows going forward, we want to make sure that you ask us some questions. We want to get challenged.
Yep, that is definitely true. And look, there's a literal clock that's going to be popped up over here. So we are to the timer. And everybody, we are connected across all these feeds. So if you do comment in any way, have any questions during the show, if it's a subject, a nice big subject, we'll cover it off in the next show. If it is a question about something we're talking about, we'll try and get to it straight away while we're in the show. Everybody ready to go?
Yeah, show number 25, folks. This is show 25, and it's live for the first time, so we're excited.
Awesome. So we've got a couple of subjects there. You'll see them at the bottom. We're going to be talking about what we've coined when is enough marketing enough. So all about your marketing spend and how to construct your marketing spend. Leveraging video. Right now, everything's going online. So how do you take advantage, much like we are? How do you take advantage of video and create a network through video? And then the last subject is the importance of trademarking. I think a lot of people kind of neglect this subject when they're putting together their brand and might not do the due diligence that's required to ensure that that new brand is your brand. So ready to go. I'm going to pop the clock up here and we're going to get started on the first subject. Here we go.
All right, let's do it. So
awesome. Go for it, Grant. So marketing, when is enough marketing enough?
Well, this is a question that we get a lot of, in the sense where people ask for a strategy, they ask for a game plan as to deliver on a particular message, enhance a brand, or greater call to action on a particular product or service. And they want to know that it's a quick solution. And unfortunately, in marketing, there's no such thing as a quick solution. There is an effective solution, but in theory, it's a long game. It's like playing football. You've got a couple of minutes not a couple of minutes, you've got a good amount of time to score points on the opposition's try line is what you've got to try and do. Same again, in marketing, it's a long game. So therefore, you've got to plan your strategy in theory to what your budget will allow and also the objective of the organization.
Yeah, definitely. And a long game is true. We always say your first 3 months or even your first 4 months, your first month, you're just getting everything in line. You're working out the strategy. You're getting access to all the profiles you need to get access to, and you're just implementation, right?
Yeah.
Month 3, 4 is where things start to really happen. Month 2, 3, 4 is where you start to measure mechanics. You start to see the reaction of people. You start to see engagement. Then it's when you get to month 5, 6, 7, or that 6th month of running out that strategy, is where you actually get to measure and track and then adjust and refine that campaign. If you're making a plan to run a strategy for 3 months, it's pretty risky. You don't have enough time there to actually measure and see how people react to it. And yeah, you can do that for a guerrilla marketing type campaign where you just want to blast it everywhere. But if you want a measured campaign, which is strategic, you need to plan at least a 6 to 12 month rollout to get effective numbers, to understand what your customers are doing and aren't doing, what they do like and they don't like. So we say kind of always put that 6 to 12 months in your mind. And when you're working out your budget, say, okay, how much can I budget month on month for a 6-month term or a 12-month term?
But here's the thing. It takes people to be able to get a message, 21 times before they even start to remember who you are. They're going to
Yep.
have to engage with you another 7 more times before they actually buy from you. So ultimately, that's what the long game is all about. Another quick point there, Bernard, is the fact that, when you do a TV commercial, it's not about the price of the production. It's about the budget that you've got to get the number of flightings with the view to build repetition and consistency with the view to enhance the message at different time zones with the view to converse. Same again with what you just mentioned now. We've got so many platforms. We've got to be able to get the message on all those different platforms that together we unite. And that's what builds that 21 messages of introduction.
Yes, 100%. You can't just expect somebody to see your message one time, especially for high value items. Sorry, I'm just fiddling with the clock to try and get it up the whole time. So as I'll get Grant to introduce the next subjects, then I can make that little guy work. But we've got a couple minutes left. But yes, essentially, you can't expect somebody, especially for high value products, to purchase as soon as they see it one time, especially when it's a considered product or a high value product. They need time to be able to be kind of garnished into the idea of making that purchase. And it could have been something that's in the back of their mind so that the lead time is a lot shorter. But if it's something they've never contemplated before, then there's going to be a much longer time, even if they know they need it right now, but they never knew that that solution existed. There is an amount of nurturing that needs to happen prior to somebody making that purchase. So it's exactly that. You can't expect somebody to jump in and buy straight away.
But my point, the last point quickly, is that it's, the budget is about the effectiveness on reach. You need to get to the maximum amount of reach for the spend, not to the fewest amount of people. It's not about talking to few people, it's about talking to the masses. And that's what platforms are there built with the view to make sure it's targeted. It comes down to your value proposition as to where you fit in, as to where your customers buy from, as to how you reach your customers. Those things are imperative on the way that we work.
Yes, 100%, 100%. You have to build. You have to build. You can't expect everything to happen right in the moment. Awesome. Let's. There is, just to be specific, 27 seconds left.
Okay.
Anything else you want to do to wrap it up?
6 seconds. I think when you are investing in a campaign, you've got to be clear on the deliverables and make sure that your spend is valuable to the return of investment in the sense of the sale that you anticipate to make of the impression of the marketplace that you're talking to.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think that is the best way to approach it. We made it happen, man. Look, I think as I said, this is the
last
first
points,
show.
Closing points. Now we start with closing points.
I think spot on with that direction. I think you have to look at things like your buyer's journey and the buyer's experience. You have to contemplate how high value or how unique your product is to then discern what how long the nurturing period might be, and then ensure when you're considering your budgets that you have enough to cover or to invest in what will then build brand exposure, brand reputation, nurture a lead, get them familiar with the product, and allow for the opportunity to buy. I think that is, like, if you have that kind of mindset, then your marketing investment is going to be well worth it. If you don't, then you're just taking a bit of a risk and throwing money at the wall. So that's my little wrap up.
Okay, in closing, I would say that marketing is not simple. You need to plot your path before you spend. You need to test your market or test your lines before you spend. And at the same time, make sure that you've got something that is of value before you spend. Marketing is successful when you spend it correctly. Marketing is not successful when your expectation is too high for your investment value that you've put in. So think about that before you think marketing is the way to go. It's complicated.
Yeah, and I think also plan everything. Doing an ad hoc campaign might get a lot of people running around and a lot of hype, but quite often it won't get the return that you expect because it was very ad hoc. So make sure you actually have a focus, a necessity, and understand why your customers need to buy what this particular product is or function of your business. If you can't establish those before you start launching your campaign, you're basically driving money through a hole and hoping for the best. So it's not the best way to run a campaign for sure,
Okay,
Cool.
next subject.
I cannot figure out this wake up screen, so we're going to risk it. We're going to risk it today and just run the clock the way it is. So I'll keep it beside me and pop it up every now and then through the conversation. But let's just pause that and take it back.
Okay, so your clock is not working.
Well, it's working, but it keeps blacking out, which is kind of useless. So
Yeah.
we
All right,
will get
next
that
topic.
working
Let's
today.
go.
Next subject is leveraging video. So this is a cool concept that Grant kind of put on the table, and it's all about how has the nature of business changed now with COVID and lockdowns and all that kind of stuff that's going on, and how important video has become part of that matrix, that business matrix for building a brand. And much like what we're doing here, building a video series and doing live feeds, how is it that you could take advantage of video in your business to essentially accelerate or improve its cut through? So, ready to
Okay,
kick it off?
right, let's get going.
We're on.
Done. Okay, so let me start.
Mhm.
I think we live in an age where people want to receive authentic messages.
Yeah.
And what I mean by authentic is you've got a camera on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
For you to record a message is in real time, bloopers and all, but it's
Mm-hmm.
about the authenticness that you're giving true value,
Mm-hmm.
authentic value in the transparent way, and that you're not trying to doll it up or fix it up or make it make believe or give it more value than what it really is, because you can be found out on the internet because people can search everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about being authentic, but it's about doing things in real time. Over to you, Bernard.
Yeah. Look, we're testament to that. And I think people might have not known, but all our previous bite-sized branding videos were one take only. So we sat down, we decided what the subject was, we hit the clock, and we just got started. And what's great about those is it's exactly what we're thinking in the moment. And it's not pre-scripted, or we haven't worked it out, we haven't pre-planned it. So we try and convey the message exactly how the message should be conveyed. And the other big benefit is you get that authenticity side. So obviously you've seen there's been a couple of bloopers this morning, which we will hopefully cut down on next video. But we're sharing our knowledge right now in the moment, and we're not trying to fluff it up or act or create a perception that is not truly the information, knowledge, and experience that we can share with you guys. So I think there's a huge amount of engagement that comes from video, and the more authentic the video is, without being cheap and nasty. So in saying that, I think there's been a ton of video footage that's come out, which is a little bit too rough around the edges. Things like when you have people just kind of mobily walking around, and it's extremely distracting because you can't actually focus on the video or what they're saying because there's too much movement in the mic, or there's no mic at all, and they're just walking around and they're trying to pay attention to everything that's going on in the background. And some people actually get a little bit motion sick from movements like that. So make sure it's clean and sophisticated. You want people to focus on the message, not be distracted by what's going on around you. But if you create that kind of environment where your message gets positioned and communicated effectively, with up to 72% higher engagement on video content, and the ability to actually get notified when you're running something like this, a live stream, people receive a notification in their little social media feed saying that you're currently live streaming. That's a huge amount of benefit that gets you that cut through that you're not going to get through when you just post up another post.
Look, another point that is also good, and a disclaimer, is that we're not trying to make everyone influencers. That's not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is get to a point where you can converse with you showing and adding value. That for me is the ultimate thing. It's about adding value. I think what we really need to look at this whole scenario is how do we get to a point that you can converse a message of value. But like you say, it still needs a little bit of thought. It's just that you don't need a whole high-end production team.
Yes.
But at the same time, take some content, you can splice it up and put it onto multiple platforms with a view to use it again and again and again if it works. If it doesn't work, you step it up. You add value to it. You bring something down. You replan. No one remembers. It's about being noticed and visible.
Yeah. And essentially that's the exact thought process that we went through when we put together bite-sized branding. We went, well, our customers for years have been asking us about all these little things. Why don't we just put together a video series and actually start talking to them about it?
Yeah.
And we capped ourselves at 5 minutes because if we don't, we'll just talk forever. But but that was essentially the idea. So all we come were with to each one of the video series was just an idea. We're like, people keep asking about us about this, or I just wrote this blog about this. Let's talk about that a little bit more. Or the other day, a client asked me about how do they, what's the importance of good branding, or what's the importance of a logo, what's the importance of this? And I went, you know what? And in fact, even that's where the trademarking part of this video came from. Somebody said, hey, why even go down the trademarking route? Or even I had a client get approached by an agency saying that your new logo is not trademarkable. And then I did some due diligence around it and went, actually, it doesn't seem like it infringes on anyone's trademark. So it gets pretty interesting when the video series is more instantaneous. It's about what's happening right now and affecting people right now. And that's where you're going to get a big amount of value, and you also impart a large amount of value,
Yeah, very much so. I think the other thing, are we there?
No, we got a minute. We're still good.
Cool. So one of the things that I think is important is the fact that we've got to make sure that you are telling your story, because only you know the product. This is not an advert. This is not a commercial. You are a representative of the product, the brand, the service, but you are asking for engagement. You're asking for commentary. If you are as good as what you say you are, then put yourself out there. If you're not, then stick to what you were doing with a view to then get it. But right now, this is where the world is moving. The world is evolving in video. It's becoming 40% of the communication channel with the view of putting things together. You look at Facebook, for example. How many videos do you see on the posts now compared to what you would do 5 years ago? It's all about show and tell, and it's not about post and say.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like, I had a client ask me the other day to put book now buttons on all their posts. And I was like, with people becoming so detached from advertising, the last thing you want is for your very valuable content to look like another ad. And somebody's like flicking past on their feed is just going to see the ad come up again. And then they're going to be like, okay, it's just an ad next, right? But if you're trying to impart high value knowledge, the last thing you want it to do is come off as an ad. You don't want people to ignore it just because they're just burnt out from being hit by advertising all the time. So what you want is your key content, your really valuable, tangible content that you can impart to people to be communicated in a way that people are willing to receive it and want to receive it. And that's what the avenues like this create. It creates the opportunity to give great knowledge and great information and impart a lot of value without turning people off. We're not here to sell you something at the end. We're here just to answer your questions, to give a lot of value, and to have a lot of and to be challenged in continually adding value. So I think if you take that direction with the content that you're creating, you're going to create some really great content that people are going to connect with.
Another valid point is the fact that people do have 5 minutes to view. They don't have 45 minutes to view. So therefore, the message is short, precise, get in, get out. The secret is make many messages or flight many messages with the view that you can build that consistency on a regular basis. But people have 5 minutes. They just don't have 45.
You made a great point there as well, is that if you did record a giant webinar, it's not useless to your social media following. Take that webinar, cut it into little pieces, give them an avenue to receive the full webinar. Say, click here to receive the full presentation, but give them the bite-sized pieces. Give them the bite-sized pieces so they still get some value out of it. And then if they're intrigued, if they're engaged, they'll then go on and get the full video. But if you put a 45-minute video, by the time you get past the intro, they've already switched off. So give them the bits that add a ton of value and intrigue them to want more.
Your clock must have run out by now.
It has paused. Oh, shocking.
My clock is running over here. I can tell.
Yeah.
So those were your final comments.
Those were the final comments. That's it. Do you want to wrap it up with a couple more comments and then?
Look, basically, I think we've gone way over time on the subject. I think video is important. Video is now. Video is part of that whole trending visuals. It's 40% of the communication channel. Don't be afraid to put some communication out there with a view to converse with your target audience, your fans, people who buy you, but educate them to the value in order to make sure the video is worth.
Yeah, 100%. And on that, let's kick it to the last subject, because that went way over time.
Now, before we start, let's sort out this clock thing. Am I going to be the timekeeper or you?
Mate, I'm going to put on a standard timer rather than this fancy timer, and let's just get this working for this show.
All right, let's just get it right this time, because now we've fluffed it twice. We have to now deliver, because otherwise, right? Are we ready? What is the subject matter?
The community won't be happy with us just talking too much. You're like, these guys can't find 5 minutes. Okay, cool. Last subject, guys. All about trademarking. Going to talk about the importance and the value that trademarking brings, and a little bit about how to do your due diligence to test whether or not the rigor of what you've created is going to potentially infringe on any kind of copyright or trademark. Ready to go?
Right, let's do it.
Standard timer this time.
Okay, I'm checking you. If you run over, I'll let you know. Okay, hit us with something there.
Awesome. So I'm going to start from the perspective of the importance of doing your due diligence. So there are a couple of different avenues you can check. There's obviously the trademarking board, where you can have a look if somebody else has trademarked the name, the phrase, the tag, or have a look at other logos within the industry that are trademarked. That's a great place to start your search to ensure that you don't end up infringing on anyone else's proprietary IP. So that would be the first place. Go there. It is the legal, formal area that all trademarking is passed through. The second part is to decide on how extensive your trademarking is, whether it's national, international. Is it location based? Are you going to be just distributing in 2 countries? Are you going to be distributing internationally? That affects the cost of what that trademark will be for you. So those things are kind of like the logistical side of things. From a creative perspective, one thing that we do with all the logos that we create is we drop them into Google image search. So what you can do is, if you go to Google Images, you can actually drag and drop images into the search panel there. And what that does is Google will then try to find reference that looks similar to what you've created or what you've dropped in there. And it's a great way to really quickly see whether or not anyone else has something similar to what you've just put together. So that's something we would recommend that everyone does when they put together a new logo, is quickly just do a little bit of a test. Just make sure you're not stepping on anyone's toes, because the last thing you want to do is brand up all your collateral, get everything printed, start distributing, start promoting, and then somebody comes out of the blue and says, hey, your logo looks a lot like our logo. You're going to need to do a rebrand. And those rebrands can cost in the thousands, in the tens of thousands potentially. So,
well, let me come in there. I think that, you may have a great idea. And you may invest money in your small little great idea with the view to grow it and turn it into a great, and it may just very well be a great idea. But everyone wants the winning business. And someone can just take apart. How many times have you heard the word Uber in a sentence now? I want to make my Uber great. I want to make myself Uber good. Everyone just uses the word Uber now in a sentence. So basically, that's what happens. People tend to take and latch onto things when it was winning. And that is when you are at your most biggest threat. Because if someone latches on something and is able to trademark that idea, and you haven't done your due diligence and sufficient coverage and protection, they can stop you from running, from trading, and they can carry on. And I think that is where it is. It's that it's actually not expensive to get it trademarked. It's just going and doing the extra effort. I believe strongly, when you build a brand, it may not cost a lot of money in the beginning. But I say do it properly, because one day you might be this mega big company and then you want to fix the brand or you've got infringement. It's expensive. So rather do it properly from the beginning, design it properly from the beginning, and protect it properly from the beginning, and protect your little baby, protect your idea. That's important.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of people don't take that into note. They're like, I just want to get up and running. I want to start trading. And I'm like, okay. They spend tens of thousands of dollars getting the whole brand done, the website, all this collateral created. Then they start investing time, and people don't think about the time. How long does it take you to actually build a reputation around that brand through your different channels, whether that's face to face, whether that's over the phone, whether that's the first card you hand out, your social media profiles, the videos you create. Imagine now taking all that time you've invested and having to redo it or to rebrand it or to reposition it. Now, it's not impossible, but if you plan with the future potential of your business in sight, then you can devise a brand that is ready for that growth. We're ready for the opportunity to become an Uber, become a term that's used in a phrase. Just look at the Googles of this world. Like Google is now used in a sentence. So,
but we refer to things. Let's Skype later. Or I'll hop on a Zoom, or I'm going to take my Uber. Or I'm just going to climb into my Tesla and go and fetch something. You don't say I'm going to get in my car. You say I'm going to get in my Tesla. So people are utilizing brands going forward. We're down to the last 10 seconds. Quickly, what I wanted to say is that it comes down to, if Starbucks didn't trademark Starbucks, we all would have gone crazy. So I think what's imperative is at the end of the day, think of a big game, start small, start humble, but make sure that you're smart with a view of going against the big boys. So there we go. Is that it?
That is. It won't even stop now. It's like it's decided. My phone technology today has decided to elude me. Why will you not stop? It doesn't want to stop. Look, it's just crashed. It had a little crash. It's just like it's decided it will not stop. There we go.
We've had a different alarm, and then we thought we've got it all worked out. It doesn't work. Final word, we've got to get going. Otherwise, this is not a bite-sized show. What's your final word?
I know. Final words on the whole show or on trademarking?
Well, trademarking, and then we'll bring the show to a close.
Cool. So final words on trademarking. I think, as Grant said, it's not as expensive as people think.
Yeah.
And do your due diligence, because the last thing, and like I have a client that went with another agency and now ended up in this situation where they've just gone and launched a new website, which cost them around $20,000 to put together. And right now they're in discussions about that rebrand of that website. So they've just taken this $20,000 budget and they're probably going to blow it out to 26, 27, 28, reworking all the content on the site for the rebrand. So do your due diligence, check the boards. All the information is public, so you can just check it out and make sure that you're not infringing, so that when you launch, you can launch and just go for it. Shoot for the stars.
Well, I had a personal experience. I had a client who was a travel agency, and they came up with a brand, and it was actually the name was owned by a petroleum company. And of course, they had megabucks, and they couldn't go up against it. So they were forced to go and change their name. And yet they were in two different industries, and yet there were not going to be any infringement whatsoever in what they did. But there was just that they were dominating their power. So once again, think smart, invest wisely, and make sure you plot your plan carefully to go into a market, because you never know. You might just have the next best, biggest idea the world is waiting for, because right now we're due for a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. Due for a good idea. I definitely think there's a lot of space in a lot of new markets, and a lot of new markets are growing and opening up through this changing environment that we have around us. So, guys, a lot of information, a ton of information. Gonna wrap this baby up. Excited for the next show. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Your questions are super important for us. We want to create a show that's based around the experiences that our community are having, not just the thought bubbles that we're having. So share with us some information. Even if you don't feel comfortable writing a comment on there, send us a direct message and say, hey, mate, I'm struggling with this in my business. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? The next show, we do it every first and third Friday of the month. So the next show will be the 18th of September. We'll have a little bit of promo collateral going out, so you can keep an eye on it and obviously put it into your calendar. Other than that, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us as always. Grant, I'll kick it back to you to say your little wrap up on the show, and then everyone free for Friday.
Fantastic, Bernard. I think that going live definitely makes a big change to the show.
What a challenge!
You're on edge all the time, so it's been a fantastic thrill. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, this subject matter is so vast in the sense of marketing that you and I, we can talk forever. Hence why we talk about bite-sized markets, and we try and do it in 5 minutes or less. It's our point of view. It's just a point of view. There are multiple opportunities available to marketing. Share with us your challenges. Ask us your questions. And at the end of the day, if you like the show, let us know. If you want to share the show, please share the show. We want to get the word out there that bite-sized marketing is not complicated. It is actually a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, building businesses, and especially right now through COVID, we need to get back and have some fun again. So we welcome that opportunity, welcome your ideas, and let's go to the market and let's make it big out there.
Yeah.
Till next time, guys. I'm out.
Awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great Friday. We'll catch you on the next show.